Alright, hello everyone. We are here for another RF talk. I believe this is the 11th or 12th one. Gotta check again later. But anyway, I am Alan, your host for this series, and I am today going to be joined by our apparent Japanese correspondent, Ry. How are you doing, man?
Konbanwa. Yeah, hi.
How's
It's
Japan?
Pretty good. Kind of cold. It's been raining the entire week, and I'm freezing my balls off. My brown balls, my brown Filipino balls are freezing to death. And it's not even winter yet, so
The heat tech wear. They keep telling me about heat tech wear.
Yeah, I know. I keep hearing about that, but I've been spending so much money getting my apartment set up, like beds, fridge, curtains, and my toilet.
Your toilet.
Goddamn.
Yeah, you posted that on Twitter. You gotta tell us like why you were convinced to get a toilet. 1, 2, how much trouble you went through just trying to get that thing in.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, I have this one thing, I have one thing I can't live without, and that's a toilet bidet. Because I want my butt squeaky clean.
Okay.
Just hygiene, that stuff. So
It's hard to go back once you've discovered the truth of the bidet.
yeah, so I thought to myself, hey, maybe I can live with just yung magtabo na lang ako. But you know what? It got really annoying. It was very sad. So when I managed to save a little more money, I decided to buy myself the high-tech Japanese smart toilet seat.
How much did it set you back?
Mine set me back around 16,000 yen. That's around 8,000 pesos. So, for those who don't know, the smart toilet seats usually come with controlled water pressure, temperature. The seat is warmed, and there's the option of moving the bidet, so it's you can wash your butt, and if you're a girl, you can wash your thing.
Lady parts, yeah.
Yeah, your lady parts. So it's very nice, if you're very particular about keeping yourself clean. So it's really funny because I got the really cheap one. Right? 8,000 pesos for
and that's the
a
cheap
toilet
one.
seat. That's the cheap one. See, I'm living alone in this apartment. I keep thinking to myself, man, it's really lonely here.
Okay.
So, a thought crossed my mind once because I ran into this. I was in this Airbnb last year where they had this really expensive toilet seat. It was beautiful. I walk into the bathroom. It senses I'm inside the bathroom, and the toilet seat opens on its own, and it starts talking in Japanese.
Talking?
Yeah, it's I have no idea what it was saying. It was maybe, hi, do you want to shit on me today?
Japanese take the bathroom business very seriously. Clearly, their priorities are where they should be.
Yeah, so, it was talking. It detects when you're done. Because, when you get up, it closes itself up again. It flushes on its own. You can control the angle of the nozzle, so for the more expensive ones, right? It talks, it closes, it opens, it changes the angles of the nozzles.
Can you control it with your phone? That sounds like the next step.
I may have to look into that, but yeah, some high-end models have remote controls.
God.
I have no idea what you need that for. You're already sitting on the toilet, so what's the point of having a remote control?
Pulling a prank, I don't know.
I would probably do that, but I wanted one, but I think that sets me back around 30 to 50,000 yen, so that's 15,000 pesos to 25,000 pesos, and you know what? I just need something to sit on, and do my business, and then for that thing to clean me up after. So I'm good with the 8,000 peso model. I'm very happy with it.
Don't exactly need a toilet seat to tell you sweet nothings as you go to sleep, I guess.
That would be very nice. You know, I suddenly appreciate the concept of that one viral video before the holographic anime girlfriend AI thing.
Which
Do
is
you remember that?
no,
Sorry, do you remember that?
the door girl, the hologram girl. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that one. The one that talks to you in her hologram thing at home, and then also messages your phone.
Yes, we
You know, being a lonely gaijin in Japan, living alone, I kind of understand the appeal now.
well, I heard that being single is a very common thing in Japan, and being very busy for anybody else is also common. So I hope you don't get overworked there. I hope your boss is nice to you there.
Please love me, Japan.
Anyway. What are the things that you find popular, like in Japan, that you don't exactly expect to find popular in Japan?
You know what? My backwater ass was hoping to find more Love Live here. I was trying to complete the keychain set that I started last year. They used to give those out in gachapon machines. I can't seem to find any of them now.
Wow.
But you know, with the second season of Love Live Sunshine out, it's still very much a presence around here. But you know, what's very surprising around here is A Nightmare Before Christmas, especially now that it's Halloween. It's so weird that I walk into a mall and they're playing music from like A Nightmare Before Christmas. Like I walked into 5 different malls that would play music like that. It's like, do we not have any other seasonal music for Halloween?
Really?
But, you know,
It's
yeah.
Like, it's like our Jose Marie Chan. Is that what you're saying?
It's Halloween Jose Marie Chan, and you know what? I don't mind. It's a nice movie, and yeah, the Japanese really like their Halloween like way more than Christmas. Christmas is nothing here. So,
if I remember correctly, Christmas is more of KFC and dating in Japan. That's what anime has taught me. So,
yeah, exactly. And Halloween is basically shutting Shibuya down so everyone can dress up and get drunk and party. So, you know, I kind of understand why Halloween is a superior holiday in Japan.
Okay.
So I'm
yeah.
planning to go as Baymax. And, you know, another thing actually. Have you watched RWBY? I have never seen it, but like I've heard of it. I've seen a few things here and there.
I haven't actually. I followed it very early on, and then when it was getting bigger, when it was finally getting its own animation and everything, I kind of stopped following it because it just other things came in the way.
Yeah, so for anyone that didn't like follow this thing, it was I don't know if it was American, but it was a definitely non-Japanese production made by a small team, hobbyists mostly. Something they did in their spare time.
I think it's
so.
I think it's just Rooster Teeth. I think that's their name, or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
Rooster Teeth. Yeah. So I just can't remember where they're based, but as far as I understand, they're an online entity, small group. So, you know, when one of their characters was announced as a playable character for this upcoming Blaze Blue crossover fighting game with a Persona 4 arena and stuff, you know, that was kind of big. I mean, this was a non-Japanese character. and it's showing up in this very Japanese production. So, you know, back when I was still in the Philippines, I was like, maybe they just partnered up or something. But, you know, when I got here, it was surprising how popular RWBY actually was. I'd see like Japanese crane machines with RWBY statues as prizes. There's apparently a manga by a popular artist.
Wow.
Let me see if I can pull it up. So, yeah, RWBY got the manga treatment in Japan. You know, Arxis, all this merch I've been seeing, it's crazy. I'm trying to remember any other like foreign media projects that have made it this big in Japan, and I can't come up with any. But it's inspiring to see like works by fans like accepted in the market of like the thing. Like
Yeah, I totally get it.
RWBY was sorry.
I totally get it. Like, because not too long ago, an anime short was created by somebody from the West. Forgot his name, unfortunately, but it's called Shelter. I think you've seen it.
Oh no. Actually no. The thing with Shelter was the music was by a Western artist, but he actually partnered up with a Japanese studio to animate that.
Ah, okay.
It was a very popular studio too. I just can't
A1.
remember.
It
God.
was A1.
Oh, it was A1. There. So, yeah, it was definitely a Japanese production. So, that's different from RWBY, where character designs, the animation, the whole thing was definitely not Japanese. And but it was definitely inspired by Japanese animation. So, this is basically like little kid like emulating his older, I don't know, role model, and that role model senpai noticing you, basically
The Weeb Dream. The Weeb Dream.
the
is
weeb
red.
dream.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Japan
So,
sounds like really full of surprises to me right now, thanks to your stories. I mean,
Oh yeah.
land of Japan, where your toilets talk. Ruby is super popular, and the Vita is not dead. So, anyway,
I have actually not seen a Vita yet.
probably
I mean,
because of the
I haven't
Switch.
seen people play a Vita yet. Then again, I don't see people playing Switches in public either. Maybe I've been going to the wrong places. Like, the only game system I've seen a person play, like, out in public was this one chick in the train playing a Nintendo DS. Like, the first DS.
Ah.
So I don't know where the weebs play their shit.
Nah, I'm pretty sure they all play at home. Because playing in public and stuff, being loud in general, I don't think they find that appealing.
Yeah. There's that. Well, true. I mean, though, the arcade scene here is pretty nice.
Pretty what? Sorry?
Pretty nice. There's an arcade very close to my home, which also has a smoking area, so I like going there before
Okay.
heading back to my place. So it's very interesting, there are cabinets there. There are games there like Lord of Vermilion or this one soccer simulator where gameplay is done via stylus, I think. Yeah, Lord of Vermilion used stylus type gameplay. And I think there was a Kantai collection game that uses like cards with RFIDs. So what you do is you lay down the cards on the table. This table has a sensor. You move these cards around to control your characters in game.
Wow.
So there was also a soccer game like that. It was very interesting. Like even older people were playing there, like full salaryman attire, coat, tie, and everything, smoking cigarettes and like playing football or virtual mahjong or something. It was, and arcade cabinets are also connected to the internet.
Yeah, they do a lot of social activities. They take it as it's definitely a leisure thing, but the from I've spoken with Giuna before. He's a prominent figure in the fighting game scene, and it's literally just something that people do. It's not, they don't really think of it as a gamer culture or anything. People just
it's just a thing.
Yeah, it's just a thing. It's not nobody makes such a big deal out of it.
So it's pretty amazing.
Speaking of Giuna and, well, most difficult segue of my life, esports. Yeah,
that was not too weird. Yeah, we were definitely going to pivot to esports.
Yeah, especially with what happened recently. We had the All-Star weekend flop on all of us. I was kind of expecting it. I mean, considering the history of Pop Life with Toy-Con, they haven't been really able to strike gold with their events quite yet.
Have they ever actually helped organize an esports event?
I actually don't think so. I've never heard their name on an esports event ever, or at least they haven't put the word Pop Life on it. They haven't put that brand on it. So far, it looks like they're just interested in going in big and trying to make it big. I mean, they marketed this as a 3-day event in MOA Arena, and at the same time, they put on the label that's going to be a music festival along with material in the event itself going to be used as material for the upcoming movie of Will Ferrell, Underdogs Rising.
Wait, is it actually the Will Ferrell movie? Because we were talking about this, and I think you or Chad said that Will Ferrell wasn't involved in this one.
I wouldn't say that he was involved, but I would definitely say that it was on the label. They put that on the label of their posts that it's going to be part of the filming of Underdogs Rising. So it might not be necessarily about the for scenes that Will Ferrell might be in, but maybe B-rolls or something. I mean, we can't really say for sure. In fact, it could be just it could just be junk later on in production when they're editing it. Like, it didn't look too good. Do we have a better scene here? We just use this one.
Yeah. So, tell me more about All-Star Weekend, because I was long gone by the time that started. What happened?
I would label All-Star Weekend as the first esports event I have seen that got called out by a big organization for being, well, unfortunately terrible. I was afraid of that this would happen because, considering of how little experience Pop Life has with organizing esports events, it's an entirely different beast for sure. And
how do you define terrible? What happened exactly? I mean, they overpromised stuff, right? Like, okay, music festival, blah, filming, blah, okay. But, this could all still happen and the event could still work out fine. So what made this absolutely shitty?
Okay, so what do you need to make an event look lively? A crowd, yes?
Yeah.
No such thing. It was a ninja convention. People got suspicious about how the more important seats were getting sold in a very orderly fashion, and a lot of people, a rumor came about that something's wrong with the event, and less and less people got interested. By the time the event happened, you're looking at empty bleachers, man. There are Twitter posts to prove that. I even know about I checked out Reddit, so I know there's some whining over there. I mean, it's a Reddit post, and just take it as it is. please with a grain of salt. The talents there were doing what they can to make something happen. One of them did an impromptu donut eating contest so that there's something happening on the stage. People were let into the venue but not let into the actual arena itself until an hour or so later. Oh, and probably this is the most terrible one. People were being charged at the gate to get in, and that's every time you get in the gate, not after you buy one ticket and you're good for the day. No, if you leave the venue, you eat somewhere else, you come back into the venue, you need to buy another ticket.
Oh, that's this was held in MOA Arena, right?
Yeah.
No, that's always been the rule with MOA Arena. You're not allowed to leave the arena at all until the end of the event because they're not letting you back in if you do.
Oh, really?
That's been a rule for everything. Basketball games, concerts, whatever else. You're not allowed to leave the arena.
Huh. That's honestly a first for me because there's like three. Yeah, 3. I've attended 3 esports events in MOA Arena. No, 2. Sorry, 2. That's gonna be the Manila Majors and the ESL 1 Manila. And both of them, I noticed people didn't. They had wristbands that counted as tickets. And
Okay, so that may have been different. Maybe the organizers didn't consider like the ticketing system, but as far as I know, like a lot of events that have gone through there, the non-gaming ones, because I haven't been to like an esports event in MOA Arena before, but like stuff like concerts or college basketball games, Cirque du Soleil. I went to one of those.
Okay.
We were definitely not allowed to leave the building once the event started, or once we've gone inside, because our tickets would be void. You can't scan them again because the system has already scanned you, basically.
Okay.
So it doesn't double dip. So I don't know how like ESL or Manila Major got past that, but as far as I know, of all the events I've gone there, and my sister used to work for MOA Arena. She was up there in the marketing department. So as far as I know, that was standard protocol. So if it was not, if people were not allowed to leave the arena and then go back in without paying, then
that's just normal business to you.
That's normal business to me. And maybe if this event were, I guess if the event were much longer than a typical concert or basketball game, then yeah, maybe those considerations should have been thought about, but those should fall on to the organizer.
Okay, let's be fair.
Yeah.
One, the ESL and Manila Major tickets were much more expensive than standard arena tickets. You'd be looking at least 1,000 plus.
How long does one day go?
Oh, that would be... Normally we started at 12 noon. It opens at 10, it starts at 12 noon. And it can... If it's a DOTA event, it's a full-on DOTA event with at least 3 or 4 matches in that day, you're probably looking at stopping at 10 p.m. to midnight.
Okay, so it's understandable how the arena would let people out, I guess, because it's a long-ass event. So, but, yeah, well, I really can't speak for, like, the organizer, but I'm definitely familiar with the arena's system, and they're very strict about that.
Okay.
So, I don't know, somehow the orgs of the other events got to talk with SM about fixing this, but
Okay, yeah.
Definitely, the organizers should have considered this, and they should have worked. They should have worked a solution for this, because, God, I don't know. It should have been mentioned by SM at some point.
I I don't know. Oh, hi dogs. Yeah, it's an interesting moment of clarity that you gave me regarding that's actually standard protocol, but yeah, considering that concerts go for maybe 5 hours and basketball games do not go for longer than maybe four, if there's two of them, I would say yeah. These are different cases, and looks like there's maybe some mishandling of the organization. Maybe some organizations might need a hand in, or get a little schooled on how to run these events beforehand. Maybe they could use a helping hand somewhere else. But one thing that tournaments do get a problem out of is streamers basically hijacking their audiences. Are you aware of this?
Vaguely, yeah.
Okay. So rundown is so you have this huge event, probably costs a ton to host. Venue, starting with the venue, you're looking at a huge sum of money already, and then there's all the equipment, all the logistics, all of that, and then you stream it online. Now for Dota 2, if most premium tournaments are available for viewing within the game itself. So what some streamers do is they watch the tournament in the game and then stream that and cast over it as if they're part of the tournament. Do you see the problem here?
Oh, yeah, definitely, because some channels do monetize, so they would essentially be like monetizing a broadcast that cost nothing to watch. So it's not fair to tournament organizers. It's kind of cheating. Although I don't know, it's very murky, because the same argument can be said about people doing let's play videos on YouTube. So, as far as I've researched as like a former game dev professional, a lot of this comes down to the discretion of the studio, basically, the copyright holder. YouTube's policy on uploading game footage is, as long as you're able to put in content of your own beside that, which is in the form of commentary, then it's totally fine, or at least it used to be totally fine. YouTube changes its policy like every 3 months now, so it's very hard to call, especially with the whole PewDiePie thing and Firewatch, was it? Wanting to pull their videos out.
No, wanting to maliciously use DMCA claims on them.
Yeah, there's that. They're pulling the DMCA claim card out, basically to pull the videos of their game by PewDiePie out, because the whole scandal thing. Yeah. So that creates a legal precedent, basically, where studios can like do DMCA claims on channels they don't like. So a lot of YouTubers are very concerned that giving studios that power takes away their freedom of speech, so to speak. Because if you give this game a bad review and you have footage of that game, then the studio can pull your video out just to shut you up.
And put your livelihood in danger if you're a YouTuber.
Yeah, if you're a streamer, it's your livelihood on the line. So, in the case of like streamers restreaming like broadcasts of Dota by Valve, I guess there's the issue with Valve that if they're monetizing their streams, then you taking their audience away from them endangers their profitability. And if this is and Dota is a free to play game, so I'd assume they'd be very particular about like controlling monetization.
Actually, Valve. Okay, I'll just present the sides, I guess. Valve pretty much said play nice because the streamers are players and the organizers are organizers, and both of these guys are customers by Valve. So they're just like, we understand the concerns, but guys, please play nice. They made a very long statement, and basically that's what it said. So they're trying not to put their hands in that situation. They want to stay on developing the game.
I do think Valve.
Yeah.
Sorry. I do think Valve understands how tenuous their position is. They're basically the party that has the last say in anything. If they want to shut third-party streamers down, they totally can. It's just that will ruffle a lot of feathers. Likewise, they could also allow them, but that would piss off a lot of the organizers.
Yeah.
But, these organizers, they kind of need the money too. They have to monetize their streams as well, their broadcasts.
Okay.
Because, organizing these events, like the logistics, the staff involved, renting a place out, flying all the players over to God knows where. Like, I know League of Legends has the Worlds right now. It's in China. So it was pretty expensive looking, the whole setup of it. So I understand organizers wanting to be very protective of those things.
Okay. On the side of the audience though, and the streamers, like, I don't think the streamers would really think about doing that if they were getting good commentators in the first place, good observers in the first place. There's been a case lately of the production staff, commentators and casters and observers in particular. They don't really get treated well. They don't get paid very much, or they're just not up to par, basically.
I guess that's a question.
Yeah?
Well, I guess that's the running issue. It's been an issue for a while of like professionalizing the esports environment because, there are several tournaments by several different organizers. These organizers may be composed of like amateurs at best, or at worst, or completely best maybe amateurs, worst maybe like people who have no idea what they're doing. And case in point, I suppose, is All-Star Weekend.
Unfortunately, yeah. We don't want to rag on them too hard because they already suffered the loss, but that's
okay.
Fine. It's a shining example of how things can go wrong. I understand that, but anyway, yeah. It's hard to really, like me, since I'm more involved in Dota. I understand how bad it is to watch an awful stream of Dota. It's so much hangs on having a good commentator, having a good caster. If you're really gonna enjoy the
tournament. And my observation of like local esports, Philippine esports is, it's very, how do you call it? Click centric, I suppose, or it's basically there are groups divided into like basically there are social circles,
Mm-hmm.
You have this one circuit of competitive esports here, and it's always run by the same people, and then there's another one run on the other side of town, for example, as the same people. So it's not a crony thing. I'm trying to find the right word for it, but basically, you usually find yourself in positions for these bodies if you happen to be friends with like the organizer or something. because definitely you have a better chance of being spotted when you're running in the same circles as these people. But my problem is, a lot of the time these circles are small, so you may not be getting the best people you can be getting if you're just looking in that tiny little circle instead of like looking, I guess, nationwide for your talent, for your casters, for your players. Right?
I mean, there's a certain problem of probably the industry getting monopolized, and once it is monopolized, look, it's, for example, Steam back then, people were afraid that what if Steam is great now, but what if suddenly it turns evil on us, and it dominates the online industry, right?
That's actually interesting because what I was proposing was centralizing. So you sound like you're very much against centralizing. So I was proposing the concept of basically, like I said, all these tiny little bubbles of like esports organizers consolidating into one official body.
So regulatory commission.
Regulatory commission assumes you're creating rules. What I'm proposing at the moment is sharing resources, basically creating not a regulatory organization basically just sets rules. What I'm proposing is creating an organization, an association, basically, or that so these people can meet up, share their resources, and build something together. Because imagine for a minute, like, the Cebu esports organizations meeting up with the Manila esports organization, coming together. It's like, let's throw a tournament together. So you have players, you have talents from like the Cebu, from Manila, maybe more provincials, right? Like, if esports players from the province could actually contact one body, like, let's say a player wants to compete, they know where to go because there's just one place. It's not a question of...
Okay, that kind of sounds like an agency.
Yeah, close enough. Yeah, something like. Because the way things are right now is Mineski has their own competitive circuit. Who else has a competitive circuit right now? It used to be Playbook. Although Playbook does focus on the FGC, Mineski focuses on PC. So, but generally there are several organizations sometimes running tournaments for the same game, and they're usually competing with one another. And it's difficult to create a nurturing environment when one side's out to like put out the other. At least, in my head right now.
No, I can see where you're going. I can see your logic behind that. Well, yeah. I understand the sentiment, but I don't really see that happening. Like, you're asking for entities to cooperate. I mean, that could happen to a certain level, but as soon as somebody feels like they want a piece of the big pie, and they have the resources, they're just gonna bypass it.
Yeah, and that's always going to be a problem.
But maybe, and there's always a potential for when you have something like this, a potential for abuse. Could be terrible contracts for young players that don't know any better about legals. It could be organizers, or just a rotten apple in a bunch, just wanting to pocket money and being a little dishonest about the prize money, things like that.
But doesn't like having a central body like actually help that? Because
if you do have, well, actually, this is where regulation comes into play. You know, if you have one central body enacting like definite set of policies, like, okay, esports players have to be compensated in this manner, or this is the code of conduct for organizers, for team managers, for players. You know, it's very difficult to enforce policy like that when you have several different bodies like representing the esports.
Okay.
Basically, yeah. So,
Well,
yeah, I suppose it's a lot like how professional sports in the Philippines do have regulatory bodies. Definitely, esports needs one of those. Protect the rights of the players, the owners, the organizers.
maybe that can happen, but I would say it should happen very slowly. You can't just build an organization off the bat, because I would say that people that tend to run, especially if there's gonna be legislation or something behind it, they normally don't understand what a new budding industry is about. Take for example Uber and Grab, things like that. They tend to be abusive about it. I would.
Well, we're not even talking about government involvement yet, or maybe not even. Well, I did say like, it's entirely possible where, I guess, all these different organizers can come together and draft like, I don't know, closest word I have is constitution, basically, laws and bylaws on how to run a team,
Okay.
how to behave as a player. You know, it doesn't have to be government law, and it's just
Okay.
we just need all these organizations, all of these people, all these influential people in the sphere of esports, not necessarily forming a government of their own for esports, but like agreeing on a code of conduct.
All right. I can. That sounds like a nice idea, but let me present to you like the bizarro version.
What is the bizarro version?
Okay, esports is probably the biggest in China, right? And
Yes.
China, by now, well, it already does for a bunch of years now, has a agency or regulatory commission that is known as China Ace.
Okay, that sounds very Chinese. No, I'm not joking. Sorry, government supervision, blah, China. Yeah.
Wouldn't no, I don't think it's government run, but it's definitely a commission.
That, actually, the fact that there's no government the surprising part to me. You know, eventually I feel like the government would be all over.
But okay,
Well, no, anything in general is held by the government in one way or another.
because it's China. Okay,
It's China.
you raise a fair point. Fair point.
They have a psychopath prototype right now, you know?
They do. They do.
Yeah, dude. You know, Sesame Points, I think, was it?
Yeah, they
Sesame Credit?
yeah, and you're monitored by the government, and they give you points if you're a good citizen, and but they take away points if you're not.
Yeah, dude, they do have that. And, you know, it's
and-
actually,
Yeah.
it affects, like, how employable you are, how dateable you are.
It does. It really does. Because if you're associated with somebody who's considered a bad citizen, your sesame points go down. And they're pairing
Yeah,
this up with face recognition technology, which is really frightening.
Yeah, they do have facial recognition technology and a lot of CCTV cameras, so, you know,
So,
it's
okay,
pretty messed up.
so
Oh.
moving away from that messed up topic, China Ace has two kind of dubious looking rules. One, tournament organizers must always be one kind of dubious policies they have is one, if you're a registered organizer with them, you can only take registered players with China Ace, from China Ace. Two, if you take players from outside that are not recognized by China Ace, then you suffer a penalty. I'm not sure what that penalty is. The same goes for players. You have to be registered to enter a registered tournament, and once you're registered as a player of China Ace or with China Ace, you cannot play in tournaments that are not licensed by China Ace.
That sounds like the NBA.
But at the same time, you're super controlled.
Well, that's my thing. If you expect like your rights, your privileges, professional in this field to be protected, then you do have to play ball. The same way how NBA players aren't allowed to like participate in other leagues, or you're not allowed to bring in other players that you didn't like draft or anything without the consent of the governing body, in that case the NBA. It's not like you could just, I don't know, suddenly decide to pull in a PBA player into your team in the middle of a season. It never works that way. NBA teams don't get new players in the middle of the season. The same way how NBA players already in the NBA system are not allowed to play in games outside without the authorization of the governing body. So, I do think that these sacrifices are necessary for, I guess, for your rights to be protected, for your paycheck to be protected. Because really, this body, this China Ace can't do anything for you if you happen to fuck up like in an event outside of their jurisdiction.
Okay. Yeah. I guess you do raise an interesting point there. I'm just saying that if you're a player and you cannot play beyond, you can't play beyond what they say where you can play in a game that's by nature international. So how are you going to be able to expand? How is an industry supposed to expand if it's trying to control its player base beyond what the game should be doing?
So yeah, there's my thing about cooperation. So, like in the example of the Philippines, I did say like orgs should be talking to each other more instead of trying to outdo one another. That way they can strive for the interests of everyone involved, players, organizers, managers, etc. So I think the fault of China Ace here is it's keeping its scope way too narrow. Like, is China Ace not thinking about sending players abroad, for example? Or, if they're not, then are they providing their players
Sorry, can you repeat that last part?
Yeah.
Anyway,
my point. The problem with China Ace may be its scope may be too narrow if they're not like sanctioning international tournaments, because it's fine if you don't go for international tournaments. The same way how NBA players don't really go international unless it's the Olympics or FIBA or whatever, and that's with special permission by administration. But if you're getting players to sign up for this organization, well, first and foremost, the players have to be smart about this. Like, you're signing up for this organization that's telling you you can't play for any other games but ours. Then you're just gonna have to count your prospects first. Does signing up with this organization cover what you need, like compensation wise? Will you actually make enough money playing for this organization
or just pushing your luck by competing outside of it,
Okay.
and well, in effect, internationally.
I can't.
So
I can't read I can't read. I was about to say Japanese. I can't read Chinese, so I can't tell you. Because you could look at the
Yeah.
site. Yeah.
because that's the thing, as far as their function goes, China Ace's function goes, I think it's perfectly all right. The NBA prevents their players from playing in other leagues because there's no guaranteeing the safety of these players. And, these are traditional sports where their health, their physical condition is important, And the NBA profits off their players being healthy, being able to play. So, in the case of esports, if any circumstances occur where their signed players are somehow rendered incapable of participating in their games, then that's money lost. Oh no.
Well, yeah, no, I understand. I understand your point. Though I'm legitimately very wary of the if there would be a commission, especially of this nature, if it gets big enough internationally. It's like who watches the watchers kind of thing, if people
Yeah.
get political about it, how is it gonna be handled? I mean, right now, the second that Valve decides on something, especially for the international, everybody's all over them for some regulation change. What more if it's
See,
yeah?
that's inevitable. Esports is a very new thing. So, some things just need a lot of revision. It's just, there's just a bunch of people out there that are very resistant to change. I'm not saying like all policy changes are for the better. I mean, sometimes there are boneheaded ideas that pass by, but in general or conceptually, these organizations were put up for the sake of the players, the managers, the organizers, all of them.
Okay.
These were set up with the intent of keeping these people around for a long time. So there's a very strong possibility of the people in power becoming abusive, rock stupid, generally incompetent, unable to do their jobs. But this happens all the time at work, government.
All right. Okay. Anyway,
So-
so the conclusion we arrive at is, if it's gonna grow, it's gonna have to take risks, and
Yeah,
Definitely.
definitely.
something like an agency or a regulating commission is an eventual step forward that we're gonna have to take, as if it's a rite of passage for an industry.
Yeah, the only way to make sure things go smoothly moving forward, where players' rights are protected, where esports players can actually make a living in this thing, especially considering how a lot of them drop out of school. They lose a lot of prospects for their careers later on because they're focusing this on esports. You want to make sure that these guys actually make enough to build a future with, because it's a risky field to be in. You don't last long in esports. You eventually slow down. You have to retire. So, you have to make that, you have to make it count, so to speak. It has to pay off, taking your years away from like college or a day job for esports. It pay enough for them. Otherwise, there's just no appeal in engaging in it.
Okay. Well, looks like that's all our time. But I think it's safe to say that Ry's fighting words about esports and maybe a centralized body is it needs to grow up, and that's the way up.
Yeah, trust the process, not necessarily the people, but first we need the process.
That's true. Okay, I will agree to that. So anyway, yeah, I think that's all our time for today. Guys, do check out RayMaroonFiles.com to check out our other content. So, I think Destiny 2 review just finished, thankfully. Anything else you'd like to mention?
I still owe you guys that game dev article, but my laptop is horrible. Can't even connect to the internet.
Yeah, it opens to the sound of Jurassic Park, apparently, running on Windows XP.
I'm gonna work on that. I don't know. I'll sell my. I'll be a foreign gaijin gigolo here to make money for a gaming laptop.
No rush, man. I mean, eventually you're gonna learn how high schoolers do it and type with their phones. Just kidding. You'll get to it.
Pitching the game. I have no gaming system here outside of my 3DS.
Wow.
I need a laptop. I want to play Overwatch again.
All right. Anyway, so that's it for tonight.
It is wrong.
It's like midnight there, man. You better sleep. You got like work tomorrow, right?
Oh yeah. All right. So
All right,
I'll see you
guys.
around.
Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
And thank you for listening.